Sometimes we find the most interesting bits of technology in the most unusualist of places. Inside this box is LEGO's new intelligent LEGO Smart Play Smart Brick. This video's not sponsored. We also might violate the Geneva Convention a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. What's really cool is that LEGO says all of their new bricks are still compatible with every brick they've ever made, which is incredible. Backwards compatibility is very much appreciated. I have an unopened box of LEGO bricks here from 1985, 41 years ago, and we'll see if that's actually still the case. These LEGOs have been wanting to be played with for decades, and we're here to make that happen. Thumbs up for that. But first, let's take a look at the Smart Brick. With the new Star Wars Red 5 X-Wing box opened, it all looks pretty standard. All the bricks in their normal numbered bags, except for this guy, propped up in the corner. This single inconspicuous brick is the brains of LEGO's BrickNet system. It's got internal power, gyros, accelerometers, a light sensor, and even an internal speaker and microphone. All without any plugs or wires. The brick itself is wirelessly charged on top of this yellow pad. Just like a smartphone or Apple Watch, a 2-hour charge gives it enough juice for about 45 minutes worth of playtime. I don't need 45 minutes though, just 45 nanoseconds. There are 3 main components of the Smart Play system. The Smart Brick itself, a smart minifigure notated by the extra designs on the back, and also smart tags. It's interesting that the minifigures have their own voices, all without saying any words. The regular, non-intelligent minifigs do not interact with the Smart Brick. It's interesting as well that you can rip the legs off of a regular minifigure, but the intelligent minifigures have their legs glued on, craggled if you will. The hair still comes off, but hair is overrated anyway. Taking the Smart Brick and plugging it into an X-Wing, the Smart Brick is sitting on top of a smart tag, so the brick now knows to generate X-Wing style sounds. There's a light sensor in the side of the brick, and when it detects the color blue, we'll hear an audible refueling sound. And when I pick up the X-Wing, it starts making flying noises. And refueling at the same time. The Smart Brick can multitask. If I press the trigger on the back, it can also shoot its blasters. When the color green is placed next to the color sensor, it activates some repair audio. With Luke in the cockpit, he will even scream when I flip the X-Wing over. Leia, who is Luke's girlfriend, also screams in her own little unique voice when the X-Wing flips over. It's pretty impressive that one brick with no plugs or buttons can accomplish all of these things. Now, the only way for us to see how Luke works from the inside is with a bath of acetone. Since LEGO bricks are made of ABS plastic, the acetone should dissolve the plastic and leave behind whatever copper or electronics Luke has in his body. Like father, like son, the bionics in his body will soon be revealed, as you can see by Luke's face completely melting off. It's kind of like the opposite of a Bacta tank. We'll come back to Luke in a minute. Making our way back to the Smart Brick and smart tags, when we move the brick to the top of the Stormtrooper turret, it starts making an entirely new set of sounds. The Smart Brick has an onboard synthesizer, so instead of storing a library of pre-recorded sounds, it can generate its own, future-proofing it for additional LEGO sets without ever needing an update. You can see that the blaster noise gets triggered when the red LEGO piece covers the color detecting sensor on the side of the Smart Brick. Again, pretty impressive, and of course the Empire did nothing wrong. If we put Leia, who is Luke's sister, into her command station and plop the Smart Brick onto the Smart Tile, we can hear a totally new set of sounds as the gyros detect rotation, and again we get a whole new library when the Smart Brick is placed onto the Smart Tag of the tug. Unfortunately, there is only one Smart Brick included in this whole set, so only one vehicle can make sounds at a time. Taking a closer look at the Smart Tag, at first I thought that the sticker might have something to do with the conveyance of information, but after scratching the sticker completely off, the tag still works great. So there must be something else going on that's deeper embedded into the plastic. We can't see any hardware inside when shining a light from the bottom of the tag or the top of the tag, but when we shine a flashlight from the side of the tag, we get a glimpse of some mysterious loops inside of the plastic, which means into the acid bath we go. Before we open up and tear down the smart brick, let's see if a Lego from 2026 can still connect to a Lego from 1985. You can see that back then, this Lego set was on closeout for about $3.99, while the Smart Play system of today costs around $90. But let's not ruin the moment. It's wild that this package of Legos has been sitting undisturbed and unopened for longer than I've been alive. The nostalgia is palpable, and it feels like Christmas morning all over again. And take a look at these minifigures. Injection molding has come a long way in the past 40 years, and our minifigures of today have quite a bit more detail. The instruction book is also a little advertisement magazine with a mail-in order form since the internet didn't exist back then. 4 to 6 weeks for delivery is quite a bit different than nowadays 2-day Prime. Kids these days have it easy. But look at this, an ancient red Lego brick, with Lego still printed on all the studs, almost like it time traveled from 1985 to 2026 to rest next to its futuristic, more intelligent counterpart. But does it connect? Indeed it does. The smart Legos of today will still connect to the Lego sets of yore. The stud and tube coupling friction grip click is just as strong now as it was 40 years ago. Also, surprisingly, the rubber is still in good condition. Lego is actually the largest tire manufacturer in the world, producing about 400 million of these tires every single year, while Michelin only makes about 200 million. Amateurs. Now that we know that old still works with the new, let's pop open the smart brick and see how it works from the inside. We'll check on Luke here in a second. I'm sure everything is awesome. The smart brick is craggled shut, so there's going to be no putting it back together again after it's taken apart. Keep in mind that the smart bricks are also not watertight, so keep it away from liquids. With the transparent plastic pulled away from the black outer casing, we discover something fascinating. There's copper wires everywhere, and this explains everything. See, there's an internal battery down at the bottom, and these copper wires are able to wirelessly charge the battery on the yellow dock that we saw earlier through inductance. But when the smart brick is ready to interact with a smart tag or smart minifigure, it uses the same battery and same coils to energize other objects through reverse wireless charging. Then the smart tags or smart minifigures have enough power inside of them from that magnetic field to power BrickNet. BrickNet is the low-energy Bluetooth mesh network, not to be confused, of course, with Skynet. Let's see if we're right. There should be receiving coils inside of Luke and the red smart tag. Where's Luke at? He is quite a bit more squishy than usual. Looks kind of like his dad did on Mustafar. They grow up so fast. Looks like he needs a little bit more time in the acetone, though. Popping the studs off the smart Lego brick, we get our first glimpse of the motherboard. We also see the top loudspeaker, very similar to the speakers we find inside of a smartphone earpiece, as well as a little hole for the microphone. It's interesting that each of the coils on top of the sides has their own loop. The individual coils help the smart brick directionally detect where the minifigs are located, and it can detect more than one minifigure or smart tag at a time. I'll pull back the clips that are holding the motherboard in place so I can pop it out. It looks like the battery is welded to the motherboard, so there are no Lego-style connections inside of the Lego. Ironic. The light-sensing color-detecting prism is located on the left side, and it redirects the light onto the sensor that's laying flat on the motherboard. The motherboard also has the processor, the accelerometer, and on the back side we have the microphone. And yeah, it's a little concerning that the Legos have a built-in microphone, but Lego says that this microphone is acting as a virtual button to detect noises like blowing or tapping, and it does not record, store, or transmit any audio. And in the manual it does say a microphone is included, but that it is not currently active. Time will tell, but keep tabs on that consent form if you're nervous about BrickNet. Yoinking out the battery, we see that it is a 45 milliamp hour tiny little guy. And since it can operate for about 45 minutes worth of play, we can deduce that it uses about 1 milliamp hour per minute of operation. Making our way back to Luke, he has seen better days. All of his ABS is now pretty soft and gooey, but I think I miscalculated a bit on just how messy he was gonna get. I do apologize, Luke, I was unprepared for this disaster. The red smart tag, though, dissolved quite nicely. You can very clearly see the copper coils inside that receive the induction from the primary coils in the smart brick. I think that, Luke is a little too far gone for us to autopsy cleanly. My bad. Luckily for us, though, Luke does have a twin, and she's right here. We can pop off her head and her arms, a little quartering never hurt nobody. The legs come off individually, but unlike regular minifigs, the Smart minifig torso is still sealed up tight. I don't think the Craggle is going to be able to fix this one. And look at that. With the lower half removed, we finally see the insides. Leia has 2 copper coils, one on the front and one on the back. I imagine with how universal these minifigs are shaped, LEGO could turn any minifig into a Smart minifig with the same internal hardware. Once the coil inside of Leia is energized by the inductance from the Smart brick, this little chip tells the Smart brick which noises to synthesize as they interact with each other inside of the magnetic field. I'm rather impressed. It's screen-free, interactable technology, and LEGO gets a thumbs up from me. Are you going to give it a try? Let me know down in the comments, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.